Have you ever truly wondered, really sat with the thought, that every word you've ever spoken, even the most fleeting, tossed carelessly in anger or muttered in haste, doesn't just vanish into thin air, but lingers, vibrating in space, leaving a trace not on glass like a fingerprint, but within the very fabric of reality itself? We've been taught that words are just sounds, mere ripples in the air, random combinations of letters and phonemes. But if you slow down enough to truly look beyond that banality, it becomes both terrifying and beautiful. Because every word is a command, a frequency, an energetic impulse that either creates or destroys, inspires or wounds. Not necessarily the body, but a dream, a belief, a desire, a sense of wholeness. And if that is true, if the word is not merely an expression of thought, but thought itself incarnated into action, then perhaps your entire life is just the echo of what you've once said. Imagine the universe not as something external, distant, or cold, but as something alive, aware, and deeply responsive, an intelligent consciousness that echoes back whatever you give your inner energy to, not based on morality or judgment, but purely by the law of resonance. What you focus on expands, and what you ignore withers, like a sound amplified by the walls of a canyon. We like to think that reality is what happens to us, but in truth, reality is what we allow to take shape within us. Your attention is not passive. It's a filter through which the events of your life are shaped, interpreted, even permitted to exist. The more unconsciously you spend your attention, the more you become a puppet to external noise, other people's words, other people's fears, inherited narratives in which you're cast as a role you didn't write. But once you realize that every word you allow into your consciousness, every phrase you repeat, every idea you fixate on, is like a seed planted in the soil of your being, you become careful, selective, intentional. You no longer want the weeds of someone else's trauma to grow in the garden of your destiny. What you ignore loses power. What you feed grows. This law applies not only to actions, but to words. When you stop fueling the inner monologue of fear, anxiety, bitterness, it begins to fade. And the opposite is also true. Every word of love, every sentence of hope you whisper, even in silence, begins to tune the universe to that same frequency. The universe, this vast, pulsing field of energy and awareness, does not understand grammatical tense. It doesn't distinguish between someday and now, because it only ever operates in one dimension, the eternal present. Everything else, memory, projection, regret, is illusion. This is why words spoken in the future tense often fail to materialize, because they vibrate with lack. When you say, "I want to be happy," what you're really declaring is, "I am not happy yet." And the universe, ever attentive, reflects that state back to you, not as punishment, but as agreement. To change this, you must begin to speak from the present, not just saying words, but inhabiting them, living inside them. A word uttered from the place of already is carries vastly more power than a word that asks or waits or longs. It does not beg, it creates. It does not signal deficiency, it broadcasts fullness. When you say, "I am love," or "I am calm," or "I am enough," and you don't just say it, but feel it, breathe it, embody it, the universe begins to shift, not because it listens to your lips, but because you've become the source of that frequency. A word becomes flesh only when it enters the body of the present. The world you live in is not fixed. It's not final. It is fluid, like a hologram that bends and reforms based on how you look at it, how deeply you see, how open your awareness becomes. The broader your consciousness, the deeper the messages you begin to receive. Expanding consciousness isn't a mystical act. It's learning to perceive the invisible relationships between words, events, and outcomes. It's realizing that even the smallest word spoken in irritation or haste can set in motion a chain reaction whose consequences appear miles and years away, but whose origin was a single, unconscious phrase. When your awareness expands, you move from being a victim of language to being its architect. You stop speaking just to fill silence. You begin to understand. Silence is not an absence of words. It is a word deeper than language. You begin to feel the weight of every sound, like a sculptor feels the weight of marble, knowing that how you shape it will determine whether it becomes art or rubble. Consciousness is the language the universe speaks. The more you understand that language, the more beautiful your dialogue with existence becomes. Every human being has within them a compass that no machine can measure, no book can fully explain. This compass is sensation, not thought, not logic, but the subtle vibration in your chest, your gut, your skin, when something resonates or contracts. That sensation, that inner yes or no, is the universe speaking through your body. Just as one string resonates with another when tuned to the same frequency, your soul responds to the words, choices, and paths that are aligned with your essence. When you speak something that is false, something inherited, forced, or foreign, you feel tension, contraction. But when you say something that is deeply true, your body relaxes, your breath steadies, your whole being seems to sigh in recognition. Yes, this is me. This feeling of alignment, resonance, is your compass. And when you ignore it, your life begins to sound like noise. The true spiritual practice is not about controlling speech, but tuning in to the frequency behind it. If the word arises from stillness, it is medicine. If it arises from fear, it becomes a toxin. Don't listen only to your thoughts. Listen to what your body feels when you speak. That is your truth. What you say once may pass as coincidence. What you say over and over becomes your code. Your subconscious mind doesn't argue, doesn't analyze, doesn't evaluate. It simply records whatever it hears most often and turns that into the foundation of your reality. This means the phrases you repeat under your breath. I can't do this. Nothing works out. I'm not enough. Don't just vanish. They sink into the root of your being, like lines of code in the software of your soul, and begin to run quietly in the background, guiding your habits, moods, and destiny. But here is the secret. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between true and false. It only knows repetition. And that means you can begin, consciously, to say new things, not because they are already true, but because you want them to become true. You can rise each morning and affirm, I am loved. I am creative. I am grounded. I am at peace. And if you say it with feeling, not mechanically, but with presence. Then, over time, it will stop being a phrase and become your internal language. It will become your truth. Repetition writes reality. Every affirmation is a spell, a sacred line of code in the source file of your existence. In the end, it all leads to one stunning realization. You are a word. You are vibration. You are a message. You are an expression of consciousness clothed in flesh. Every word you speak is not separate from you. It is an echo of the energy that you are made of. When you truly understand this, you stop wasting your words like trash. You begin to speak not to fill space, but to shape it. You choose your words like an artist chooses colors, with care, with intention, with awe. Because a word is power. A word is a choice. A word is will. And if you want to change your life, don't start with action, start with language. Speak as if every word will become a brick in the house you'll live in tomorrow. Speak as if the universe is always listening. Speak as if God hears you, because maybe, just maybe, you are the word He spoke. Thank you for watching. May your words be powerful, your thoughts clear, and your reality filled with light. Until next time, stay conscious and keep creating your best life.